The title of this dialogue is The Age of Commodified Humans. But before we start talking about it, let's break it down a little bit first. Commodification means treating something, or in this case someone, like a commodity or object, basically attaching the idea of utility to it. This means that every object or person commodified will be viewed and valued based on its utility and usefulness. It is not a foreign concept to us. We have commodified the environment, the food we eat, the ideas we have, technology, information. The list goes endless. We even commodified a section of our own society through the system of slave trade. But then the question arises as to why we commodify things. I think we can all agree that slavery was one chapter of history we all are ashamed of. The fact remains that we commodify for the returns and the reward it succeeds. We see something as an object, we can use it. There's this idea popularized by Jason Moore. It's called capitalism. Moore argues that humans start seeing nature and the environment as an object or commodity. Hence, nature lost its value. It became a means to an end. It became a resource. When that happens, it is coupled by the process of exploitation, because our end goal is seeking benefit from that commodity. Keeping this logic in mind, I'd like to introduce to you all the concept of the commodified human. I would love to say let's imagine a situation where the human is commodified, but I think the process of commodification has already started and can be seen around you. The question here is, do you realize it? Or do we as a society realize it? I personally believe we do, but we do not want to admit it. The reason I say this is because I observe how such sentiments have seeped into our lexicon. We see a surgeon and advise him to be careful with his or her hand because it's a $1 million hand. The surgeon's hand in this context is important not because he is a human, but because that hand has some monetary value due to the task it performs. Let's make it more relatable. I would want you all to think about how you are viewed in your workplace. Who in your office or workplace is treated better or commands more respect? Now I agree that you may have varying answers, but my best guess would be the person who's the best at his job. That's also mostly the basis of handing out promotions and superior positions. You always favor the most efficient and productive employee. Now, this might be acceptable in the workplace, but what if I tell you that the metrics, how the society views us, is also influenced by this particular idea? You are important to the society if you're productive, if you have utility, or if you're useful. I genuinely think that's a sad state of affairs. Let me explain why. Initially, you're working to earn money, to obtain a decent livelihood. But now, you're also working to be accepted by the people, to be respected by the society. But that's not all that encourages you or forces you to work disregarding your own personal choices and wishes. The society sells you a dream. It says, if you're working hard right now, you'll enjoy later. When the later is coming exactly, no one really knows. We delay and postpone our own wishes because we are busy competing in the productivity contest. Now, then you may all say, wait, why is it such a bad thing? Being productive, I'm increasing my efficiency. To this, my simple answer would be, where do we stop? And more importantly, what is productivity? Acceptance is a strong motivator for humans. If you tell a person that he or she would be accepted in the society if he or she is productive, and further define what that productivity means based on your convenience, I feel that person is more likely to do the things that label him productive than otherwise. I'll force myself to complete a project or presentation given to me by my superiors or the institution I work for, then hang out with my friends or read a good book, even though I might not really like working. We here are creating a dichotomy between leisure and work. Work is important, leisure is secondary. Work might not make you feel good about yourself or may give you stress, but it's still primary. To be successful, you need to work. And even though these ideas may seem abstract to you right now, I assure you they aren't. Did you know, according to the Factory Act of 1948, the maximum working hours are 9 hours per day. And if you add, say, the extra time or overtime charges, it can extend up to 10 and a half hours. This means that the industries, corporates, other institutions can legally make a person work for 9 hours, excluding the breaks that employees are entitled to get. At the same time, we are as a society forcing them to work as much as they can. My question to this is, when do you think a person does things he actually likes? When do you think they do things that aren't deemed productive? We are working to improve our quality of life, but how is that actually happening? Here I'd like to introduce to you the concept of intrinsic and extrinsic motivation. Intrinsic motivation is doing something for fun, when you don't have any external reward for the work that you do. Extrinsic motivation is when you do work for external reward. A simple example to help us understand would be that if I read a book because I wish to read it, it's intrinsic motivation. But if I read it because it's part of my course in my college, it's extrinsic motivation. It is when you do things for fun, for personal satisfaction and fulfillment, you improve your quality of life. You're happier, healthier, physically and mentally. But the way we are progressing, our life seems to have less and less space for such activities. This is not only restricted to the employees or workers, but it has reflected even in the way policies are made for children. In the new economic policy, we aim to create the most efficient and employable individuals. Every second of a student's life is charted from working days to summer breaks. The child is supposed to study well, play well, draw well, and so on. The list is endless, and so is the list of activities, projects, tests, presentations a child is supposed to do to be part of and excel in the education system. This is important in a student's life because it determines the way his parents see him or her, his relatives view him, the respect and adoration he gets in the society. It might seem like they are creating well-rounded individuals, but let's take a minute and think about the possibility that maybe we aren't. There's a study by the American Psychological Association that says mental health issues increased significantly in young adults over the last decade. They conclude it is due to increased screen time and digitalization of social interactions. This makes me wonder as to why the kids are online. I mean, I agree that the way our society is progressing, screens have become a norm. But isn't it a known fact that social media is supposed to give you a false sense of validation? Maybe the validation the society is not giving them because of the hectic schedules they're subjected to? Social media gives you a space to do whatever you want without being judged or ostracized. Well, it's debatable now considering the increased social trolling going on. But again, you still get a place where you can be anonymous, where you do not have to attach yourself to an identity and be judged. This makes me wonder, aren't we pushing our kids towards the screens, shaping our societies in a way that puts people at risk of mental illnesses? We are making our normal toxic. Moving on to another aspect of it, which is often overlooked, is sleep. A teenager requires around 9 to 9.5 hours of sleep. Me being a college student, from personal experience, believe that 9 hours of sleep is not only unimaginable, it is also treated as a sadistic joke if you talk to a college student based on our schedules. Colleges open for around 8 to 9 hours, excluding the college society hours that a person is supposed to give in if he or she has to be a well-rounded student. Schools too have similar issues about timings. This again is exclusive of the time a person puts in assignments, submissions and other projects. Now use this information and try to construct a student's life. Keep in mind that he's a human who has responsibilities beyond the confines of schools and colleges. Now think of it that he is coming from a different socio-economic background, where maybe he has given extra responsibility, or maybe he's coming from a very different context which does not fit the education system. If you think hard enough, maybe you'll realize how we as a society have managed to disregard humanity while dealing with humans. I think there is a need to encourage the idea of procrastination. We need to give importance to the idea of me time, of leisure. Because if that's not there, we cease to remain humans. We become commodities.